In February 2025, the entire United States was shaken by a horrific crime. Sam Nordquist, a 24-year-old transgender man from Red Wing, Minnesota, was found brutally murdered in Hopewell, New York. But the horrifying truth went far beyond that. According to a press release from the New York State Police on February 14, 2025, Sam wasn't just murdered. He had endured over a month of brutal torture, lasting from December 2024 all the way through to February 2025. The suffering he experienced during that time is enough to send chills down anyone's spine. At the crime scene in Hopewell, the New York State Police, in coordination with local law enforcement agencies, arrested 5 suspects ranging in age from 19 to 38. All were charged with second-degree murder, with an aggravating factor of depraved indifference, a legal term indicating an exceptionally brutal and inhumane disregard for human life. And it didn't stop there. On February 20th, 2 more suspects, a 29-year-old woman and a 21-year-old man, were also indicted on the same charges. Sam Nordquist was born and raised in Red Wing, Minnesota, a quiet, peaceful town nestled along the Mississippi River. He attended Red Wing High School and later worked at a group home for people with disabilities in Little Canada. At just 24 years old, Sam was known as a warm, kind-hearted young man, always devoted to caring for others. Of mixed heritage, Sam was especially close to his mother and 2 siblings. To his family, he was someone who always tried to live authentically. A devoted son, a loving brother, and a courageous transgender man who embraced his identity with strength and integrity. On September 28, 2024, Sam left Minnesota with a heart full of hope. He set out for Geneva, New York, to meet his online girlfriend, minus 38-year-old Precious Arzuaga. The original plan was just a 2-week visit, but then he decided to stay, hoping to build a serious relationship with the woman he trusted. However, after January 1st, 2025, Sam's family could no longer get in touch with him. Calls went unanswered. Messages were left on read. In their last conversations, his mother sensed that something was wrong. Sam didn't sound like himself. His words felt distant, emotionless, as if he were speaking from a place of fear. Sam's family pleaded multiple times with the police to conduct a wellness check on their son, but their requests were denied. According to his mother, back in December, Sam had reached out to the Ontario County Department of Social Services, saying he needed help and wanted to make an escape plan. But after that, he never returned to the office again. Since December 2024, Sam Nordquist's family had been unable to reach him. Fearing the worst, they filed a missing persons report on February 9, 2025, with the Canandaigua Police Department. That same day, the New York State Police launched an investigation and conducted a search of a small motel called Patty's Lodge, located in Hopewell, Ontario County. There, in a dark, cramped room where Sam had been living with at least one of his alleged abusers, police uncovered clear evidence of abuse and torture. This wasn't just physical harm. It was a prolonged, barbaric campaign of torment that had stretched on for weeks. Captain Kelly Swift, who led the investigation, choked up during a press conference.
Our investigation has confirmed that from early December 2024 to February 2025, Sam was subjected to repeated acts of violence and torture in a manner that ultimately led to his death. His body was then transported in an attempt to conceal the crime and was later discovered in a field off Payne Road in the town of Benton, Yates County. Following a comprehensive investigation in collaboration with the Ontario County District Attorney's Office, we have charged the following individuals with murder in the second degree under the depraved indifference statute. Precious R.
This is one of the most horrific crimes I've ever seen in my entire career. What Sam endured was beyond comprehension. He was sexually assaulted with the legs of a table and a broom handle. He was beaten repeatedly with sticks ropes, dog toys, and belts. He was starved, denied access to proper food or drinking water. He was forced to ingest urine, feces, and juice soaked with cigarette ash. Bleach was poured directly onto his body. This torture, both physical and psychological, went on from early December through early February. A prolonged, brutal campaign of abuse inflicted by multiple individuals, with no one stepping in, no compassion, and no mercy. On February 13th, a body believed to be that of Sam Nordquist was discovered in a field in Yates County, about 50 miles southeast of Rochester. According to police, the body had been intentionally moved in an attempt to conceal the crime. Sam's date of death was determined to be February 2, 2025, meaning he had remained alive for nearly 2 months under the hands of his torturers. Although the public and the LGBTQ+ community were outraged, believing that Sam Nordquist's death bore clear signs of a hate crime, the Ontario County District Attorney's Office came to a different conclusion. There is no evidence to support that this was a hate crime, they stated. The reason? The suspects were all acquaintances. Some were members of the LGBTQ+ community themselves, and at least one had lived with Sam prior to the crime. This statement sparked major controversy, especially as gruesome details of torture, sexual assault, and child abuse emerged later. On February 9, 2025, the first 5 suspects were arrested. On February 20th, 2 more were taken into custody, bringing the total to 7 suspects. Precious Arzuaga, 38, Sam's online girlfriend. Jennifer Keanu 3 O'Kyle Sage, 33. Patrick Goodwin 3 O Emily Mataga 19. Thomas G. Eves 21. Kimberly Sochia 29. All of them are from New York State. And this isn't the first time several of them have had run-ins with the law. Patrick Goodwin, convicted of child sexual abuse in 2015, released from prison in 2023. Kyle Sage has prior convictions for grand larceny and distributing explicit material to minors, released in May 2024. Precious Arzuaga has a criminal history including theft and trespassing, and was previously cited for animal cruelty after her dog was seized in 2016. At first, all 7 suspects were charged with second-degree murder under the aggravating circumstance of depraved indifference, a legal term used to describe killings committed with extreme cruelty and utter disregard for human life. But on March 5, 2025, the charges were elevated to first-degree murder, meaning the killing was premeditated and intentional. And the worst part wasn't over yet. Precious Arzuaga, the woman Sam once trusted as his girlfriend, is now accused of forcing 2 children, ages 7 and 12, to take part in the torture of Sam. In the latest developments, 4 of the 7 defendants have been charged with first-degree aggravated sexual abuse, an extremely serious charge reserved for acts of brutality involving sexual torture. Additionally, 6 of the accused are now facing charges of concealment of a corpse, an attempt to cover up the crime after Sam Nordquist's death. At present, all 7 suspects are facing a slew of charges, including first-degree murder, first-degree kidnapping, second-degree conspiracy, endangering the welfare of a child, as 2 children, ages 7 and 12, were forced to take part in the torture. Precious Arzuaga, once believed to be Sam's romantic partner, is specifically accused of coercing the 2 children into carrying out acts of torture. Although many people believe the case clearly bears the hallmarks of a hate crime, officials continue to reject that label. Assistant District Attorney Kelly Wolford stated,
Sam was confined. He was forced to kneel and stand against a wall. He was physically assaulted. He was sexually assaulted. He was prevented from using his phone. He was denied proper nutrition and hydration. He was fed feces. He was forced to drink urine and chew spit. They physically restrained him. They forced him to obey their commands, treating him like a dog. They covered his face with towels and shirts and fabric. They used duct tape, and they poured bleach on him.
Labeling this as a hate crime would limit the case to Sam's gender or race. And that's not enough. Sam was beaten, raped, starved, and held captive for weeks. We cannot reduce what happened to just gender or ethnicity. What took place goes far beyond any legal definition. Put another way, if we simply call this a hate crime, we're actually downplaying the true horror and cruelty of what happened. We can't blame his gender. We can't blame his race. Because what Sam endured goes far beyond any label. It wasn't just hatred, it was pure cruelty. Shortly after Sam Nordquist's death was discovered, prayer vigils began taking place as a way for communities to mourn and stand together. One vigil was held in Red Wing, Minnesota, Sam's hometown and where he attended high school. That same day, another was organized at the Wood Library in Canandaigua, New York. In Minnesota, the State House POCI, Caucus and Queer Caucus released a joint statement in solidarity with the LGBTQ community and held a vigil at the state capitol. Some organizers are even considering honoring Sam in an upcoming LGBTQ history exhibit in Minnesota. Meanwhile, the New York Times revised its headline about Sam's death twice. Initially, they identified him as a transgender man who had been tortured for 2 months. They later changed it to tortured for over a month and removed mention of his being transgender. In the final version, they referred to him simply as a human being. Organizers are also considering honoring Nordquist in an upcoming LGBTQ history exhibit in the state. On the social media platform Bluesky, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz expressed a strong stance, calling the incident deeply disturbing and affirming. Minnesota stands with our LGBTQ neighbors against this unimaginable crime. Ask ChatGPT. At the same time, New York Governor Kathy Hochul also issued a statement on February 15th, affirming that her office stands ready to provide any necessary support to ensure justice for Nordquist and emotional support for the victim's family. Locally, 3 members of the Rochester City Council also spoke out. In a joint statement, they emphasized, "We reaffirm our commitment to protecting the rights of transgender individuals, ensuring safety for everyone, and making it clear, you are welcome here, fully, openly, and without fear." The grief of the Nordquist family has deeply moved the public. In an interview, Linda Nordquist, Sam's mother, tearfully described her son as,
"Give you the shirt off his back, very kind, loved his family, loved his nieces and nephew, very outgoing, worked hard."
He was so kind, he'd give you the shirt off his back. He loved his family, his nieces and nephews. He was friendly and hardworking. When asked about the initial 5 suspects, Linda didn't hide her anger.
Or they can rot. They are scum. They are evil. I don't know how somebody could be that evil.
They're rotten. They're scum. They're evil. I don't understand how a human being can be that cruel. She also openly criticized law enforcement for failing to act in time, despite her repeated calls begging them to check on her son's well-being. A wave of outrage is sweeping through the LGBTQ+ community and its allies after learning that the suspects in the murder of Sam Nordquist, a transgender individual, are not being charged with a hate crime. Organizations across the United States have spoken out. GLAAD, the nation's largest LGBTQ advocacy group, did not hide its anger. In an official press release, they stated, "We urge New York prosecutors to fully consider the hate crime elements in this case. Anyone can act out of hatred toward the LGBTQ community, regardless of their relationship to the victim. Rochester LGBTQ+ Together, A local advocacy group strongly condemned the incident, saying they are angry and disgusted by Sam's tragic death. The New Pride Agenda, an LGBTQ organization based in New York, emphasized, "This is not an isolated incident. It is the tragic result of a culture of hate that continues to escalate in our society." Additionally, the New York City Anti-Violence Project warned that, regardless of whether law enforcement labels the crime as a hate crime, violence against trans people is always deeply intertwined with issues of racism, gender-based violence, and systemic hate. These calls are not just demands for justice for Sam. They are also a wake-up call about the increasing danger faced by those who dare to live openly and authentically in their identities. Sam Nordquist's death didn't just end with a conviction for the perpetrators. It sparked a nationwide conversation across the U.S. about violence against the LGBTQ+ community, the gaps in systems meant to protect the vulnerable, and whether justice ever comes quickly enough or soon enough to prevent a tragedy like this from happening.